The only thing dropping is Trump's poll numbers. The president claims without evidence that prices will come down when the war is over. Also breaking tonight, the White House is now telling Congress that the war has been, quote, terminated in a last-ditch effort to avoid a war powers vote, because the law says the president is supposed to get congressional approval for military actions lasting longer than 60 days. We are at day 60.
Okay,
That's
so
right.
Michael, you described the inconsistency in the messaging that we are hearing from this administration. One of the things I noticed, Eugene, though, is they are consistent on one front, and that is that Americans are freaking out, and there's no reason that they ought to be freaking out. And that, to me, is sort of curious political message to deliver in advance of a midterms where affordability is going to be a key issue, because gas prices are what they are. The president and his administration have made their choice on what is happening in Iran. There is a certain reality there. They could still, though, Eugene, say, we know you're feeling the pain, and we are feeling it too. And that is why we are going to do everything in our power. We're going to use every tool we have to bring down the price of gas, because there's the reality, and then there's the reality of an administration that cannot say, we feel your pain. We know what you're going through. You're exactly the type of person that we're here in Washington advocating for. And I think, Eugene, that politically going into midterms is a self-inflicted wound.
You mentioned that it was curious. That's very nice of you. Per usual, very classy. It's raggedy. It's a weird choice to go into a midterms saying to the American people that what is leaving your pocket is not leaving your pocket. And even if you watch all this money leaving your pocket, it's okay, because at the end of the day, it's short term. The American people have been dealing with short-term pain for years now. Rising healthcare costs, the grocery prices being high, you add gas on top of that, and everything else the American people have to pay for. And it's much more difficult to live in this country. When you think about it, if this Republican Party, especially if Donald Trump, were making better choices, they'd have to live in the reality, actual reality, not the one that Donald Trump tries to create. And that is the key to Donald Trump. Understanding him is that he is always trying to create a reality and making people live in it with him. It is fine when you are in New York selling buildings and putting your name on buildings. There's a whole other thing when the American people's daily lives are at stake.
But Donald Trump created the reality, and everybody's stuck in it. Donald Trump came out of the gate telling his staff and everybody at the Pentagon and everywhere else, oh, this is going to be short. 3 days, people. I remember it. I don't know about y'all. He said 3 days. So when he tells you that that's when something's going to end, everybody is playing to that. And they can't get out of their own way now because Donald Trump created that reality. And everybody's now stuck in it. And the American people are letting them know just how mad they are about being stuck in Donald Trump's reality. Let's bring in MS Now political analyst and Democratic strategist Cornell Belcher. Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me.
So, what you doing?
I'm hanging out here with your brothers.
It's not the black ladies' courtroom, but we're close.
Very close.
Look, I think Alicia raises a very, and Eugene as well, a very interesting point about reality. And at the start of this, the reality was what Donald Trump said it was going to be. He told us, oh, I'm doing this. We're done in 3 days, right? And then here we are now, day 60. He's run up against a war powers resolution, right? Which now supposedly, he's got protests in the streets on everything from the economy to immigration. And so they're still peddling this lie, this bold-faced lie that, this will be over soon.
Well, at some point, you think, to your point, it is ragged, because at some point you think they do have to actually pivot. It's an interesting thing, because I'm a numbers guy, so that's why you have me on the show. You showed that the numbers from the Washington Post poll at 61% disapprove, but you know what's really important are the independent voters. Yeah. And you got over 70% of independent voters disapprove of the war. And when you look at around the economy, you got in that Fox poll, I think you had close to 80% of independents disapproving of his job around the economy. And even before prices went up, Eugene, it wasn't like Americans were feeling good about the economy, even before the turbocharging of the war. So when you look at where independents are right now, and this is really interesting because I haven't seen this before. You know, your team has always had the approval on the economy, or sort of
Absolutely.
position that's better in the
Yep.
economy. Odd thing happened over the last couple of weeks, and that's Democrats have
Shifted.
taken a couple of points advantage on the economy. And this is something going back through the 2000s, Bush, even in our re-election with Obama, when you ask voters who would do a better job on the economy, Romney or Barack Obama, Romney had the advantage on that.
Yep.
So that Republicans have now lost a key advantage on the economy shows that they're, not only is it not working, but it's disastrous. And at some point, you got to think, if you're a House Republican sitting in a swing district, at some point, you got to see this messaging isn't working.
Yeah.
And you've got to try to figure out how you pivot.